Magical invisibility. Many fairy tales and stories tell the tale of a sorcerer who can make himself invisible, or of a magic ring which makes one invisible. The only requirement is to wear the ring and rotate it on your finger and you become invisible. In many books you find descriptions of talismans and gemstones which have the ability to cause the wearer to be invisible, and instructions to accomplish this are also given. But none of this is reliable or useful for the actual practice. We will prove and closely describe, on the basis of the universal laws and what we have learned so far, that from the magical point of view it is possible to make oneself or an object invisible. First of all, there are three different kinds of invisibility, namely spiritual or mental, astral or psychic, soul, and physical invisibility. It is of no particular value to cause the mental body to become invisible, but there could be situations in life where this practice might be very useful. Should the magician wish to transfer himself mentally and astrally to a place where he does not want to be detected by the beings of the particular element or sphere, or by the developed senses of an experienced magician, he can make use of this mental invisibility. For example, if a master or guru wishes to visit his student mentally, for the purpose of checking on him, the master can be in the immediate vicinity of the student by making himself invisible without being noticed, even if the student's senses are already highly developed. Furthermore, a magician can be present when black magicians perform their ill-disposed magical rituals in order to find out everything and, if necessary, to exert a certain influence without being noticed or detected by the black magicians or their beings. There are also many other situations that could occur in one's life where it is warranted to make oneself mentally or astrally invisible. It is a very simple procedure to cause the spirit to become invisible. This is accomplished by filling the mental body from head to toe with the akasha. Once this is done, the mental body disappears immediately to the eyes of any being, because the akasha is colorless and without vibration. Should the spirit of a magician engage in any activity on one of the mental spheres, his activity would be recorded in the akasha principle and, even though invisible, he could be detected through clairvoyance as a result of his activity. In order to prevent this from happening, the magician must form a black covering that surrounds his entire body as soon as he has filled his mental body with the akasha. It is not important as to whether this black covering has the form of a sphere or an egg. The magician must make certain to completely isolate himself with akasha, and he must not forget the area over his head and under his feet. Once he has made himself invisible in this manner and before he begins to travel anywhere, he must concentrate on the fact that through the akasha his activities are completely neutral, in other words that his activities will not be recorded in the akasha and will leave no trace. This concentration is absolutely necessary, otherwise the magician must expect that new causes will be recorded in the akasha nevertheless, even though illegibly. The magician is personally responsible for all the activities with which he is engaged while he is invisible in the spirit world. Destiny no longer affects him here, for he is the master of the akasha, he has become the master of destiny. He is subject solely to divine providence and he is also accountable solely to divine providence. Should a magician misuse these practices, he would have to deal with divine providence and not destiny. Should his deeds be the cause of evil influences, it could happen that divine providence will forsake the magician, forcing him to live alone in the universe as an individual and dependent solely upon himself. The only possibility for support by divine providence has then been lost. The magician can be assured that this is considerably worse than a curse. He would have no one above him and sooner or later he would undoubtedly experience his desolation and his entire individuality would be completely at the mercy of his demise. Any experienced magician must have a good understanding of the significance of this situation from the magical point of view. Once the magician masters invisibility during his mental travels, the same procedure can be employed for the exteriorization of the astral body. The same practice of loading the entire personality with the akasha applies, i.e. loading the mental and astral bodies together. All the other instructions which have been described apply. It is also feasible, from the magical point of view, to make oneself invisible on the physical plane. In this instance, however, it is accomplished with light and not with the akasha. The amount of light with which the physical body has to be filled must correspond to the luminous intensity which prevails at that time during the day. Should the accumulation of light be more intense than necessary, the magician would not be invisible, but externally translucent and radiant, and lustrous like the sun. It is not an easy task to make oneself physically invisible, and it will probably require years of practice and self-control. Only the higher adepts, if not adepts of the highest rank, are able to perform this task perfectly. Once the magician has reached this degree of proficiency through practice, that he can make his mental, astral, and perhaps even his physical body invisible, he will also be able to make any object in the physical world invisible in accordance with his wishes and without any great effort. There is also another method of making any common object invisible. This is accomplished through the imagination in connection with the akasha by transmuting an object from its solid form into an astral form, whereby the object disappears from the view of the uninitiated, that is, one whose senses are not magically developed. An object that has been transformed into an astral form can be transported by an astral body, whether it be the astral body of a being or of the magician. It can also be an individual part of the body, for example a hand, and again there is no limit as far as distance is concerned. After the object has been transported from one place to the other, only one task remains to be done by the magician or being who has accomplished this feat, and that is to transfer the object from the astral form back to its physical form. This type of teletransportation of an object can also be performed by the beings of spiritualistic mediums, although this occurs very rarely. It is, however, possible, should you in fact be dealing with indisputable materialization phenomena. Whatever the highest planetary and extraplanetary intelligence can master, a magician who knows the universal laws and has reached this level of development can do the same. There is still another method of causing invisibility. This is accomplished through the distraction of the senses, such as hypnosis and mass suggestion. Furthermore, there is a method of invisibility which is caused by beings who call forth a frequency of oscillation in the physical body which corresponds to the light, and, through this, initiate invisibility. In my second work, The Practice of Magical Evocation, there are more detailed instructions in regards to invisibility initiated by beings.